My pranams to all Atmajyotis, divine light of the self. I welcome all of you for today's session of Tripura Rahasya. Continuing our discussion between Bhagavan Dattatreya and Parashurama, Parashurama asks a question, why there is a difference between the Jnanis? Earlier we were told, Bhagavan Dattatreya told three types of Jnanis: Uttama, Madhyama and Adama. Jnani who is Uttama, he is fully established in self. He is Brahmanishta. Is called Atmanishta. One who is established in the self is called Brahmanishta or Atmanishta. One who is established in the self does not have to remember that he is the self. Just like I and you think I am the body, I am the mind, I am the intellect, I am husband, I am wife. For him, I am Brahman. That awareness is natural. So whatever circumstance in the life he faces without getting disturbed. He is established as Sthira Prajna. Somebody praises him, he is not affected. Somebody blames him, he is not affected. The joy and sorrow do not affect him. The best example for that is Sri Krishna Paramatma. Throughout his life, the smile on the face of Sri Krishna Paramatma never faded. Every day somebody is trying to kill him. He is not affected. He dances with Gopikas, he plays music, he plays politics, he teaches Bhagavad Gita, he plays all the roles, but without getting affected by the roles. There was a Rajasuya Yajna where Sri Krishna was made the Adhyaksha or guest of honor. So there are hundreds of kings which had come to who had come to that Sabha. There one person called Shishupala starts blaming Krishna, starts abusing Krishna in front of all the kings. Krishna just smiles. Krishna is not affected by praise. Krishna is not affected by the abuses. He is not affected by the praise. He is completely equanimous, Sthita Prajna. So Sri Krishna represents the highest level of Jnani. There are many times people are trying to kill Krishna. He is not affected. Jarasandha attacked Mathura, the city of Krishna, more than 11 times. So many 11 wars have happened. Then finally Sri Krishna decides to shift Mathura, his capital, to Dwaraka. He takes appropriate decision without getting emotional, without getting biased. That's what Jnani is, highest order. Whereas Jnani of the lowest order, he knows he is Atman, he is Brahman, but his Jnana is affected when he is interacting. He is not established fully in Atman, Brahman Jnana. He can get imbalanced by Prarabdha Karma. So, of course, he'll come back, but it'll take some time for him to come back. Let's like he gets a shake, then he may get shaken, but then he'll come back balanced. That's called Jnani of the lowest order. So Jnani of the middle order, he still practices. He goes in more and more into Samadhi. He doesn't get involved in the world. Whereas a person who is in the highest order, Sahaja Samadhi, will get easily, comfortably interacts with the world without getting affected. His Jnana is not affected, whether he's in Samadhi or he's in the world. And he looks for all the people, he looks like a common man. So these three categories of Jnanis. Parashurama asked Bhagavan Dattatreya why there is a difference in the three categories of Jnanis. Jnana is same for everybody. The self-knowledge is same for everybody. The self is known to everybody. There's nobody who can say, I don't know the self. Self-knowledge or Atma Jnana is common to all. That Jnana you cannot gain or lose. What is that self-knowledge? Whenever you speak of I, you speak of I. You are pointing to the self. So you say, I was born 30 years back. I was in Mysore. Now I am here. You are referring to I, the self. Are you not? Now, if you notice very carefully, this self which you are referring does not change at all. 30 years back, you are born. You were in Mysore. Now you are in Bangalore. I doesn't change. You are referring to same I. What is changing? The body is changing. The mind is changing. The intellect is changing. The place is changing. But the self does not change. So do you know yourself or not? Is there somebody who does not know self? If I ask you the question, do you exist? What is your answer? You say, I exist. For that, do you need a proof that you exist? Is there a certificate required to exist? I exist is knowledge of you. So are you conscious? Yes, I am aware. That also is your knowledge. I exist, I am aware is called, I exist is called Sat, I am aware is called Chit. That you are aware, self-aware, self-luminous. But where that self-luminous knowledge is common to everybody. It's not specific to Gnani or Adnani. Because self is always a matter of direct experience to us. It's called Aparoksha Jnana. For everybody. Everything else is indirect knowledge. For example, if I have to see the table, I need eyes or light is required. It's indirect knowledge. But I exist, I am aware that no knowledge is required. No additional support is required. Right? So somebody goes into the room. You ask him, is there a table in the room? Oh no, there's darkness, there's no light. I don't know whether the table is there or not. Is there a chair in the room? I don't know. Are you there? Yes, I am there. Now, when you say, yes, I am there, do you need a light there, tube light there, flashlight there to say I am there? But to say the table is there or not, you need a light in the room. To say I am there, you don't need a light because you are the light. You are the Atma Jyoti. You are the self-aware light. That no light is required there. It's self-evident to you that Atma Jnana is there for all the people. It's uniform. It doesn't vary from Adnani to Adnani. But there's a difference between Jnani and Adnani. The mind mistakes the self with the body. So if you ask the person in the room, why do you say you are there? Oh, I am there because my body is there. So you are confusing the self, which is self-luminous, Atma Jyoti, with the body. You are also aware of the body. Body is also an object. So between the Jnani and Adnani, the difference is in the mind. The progressive illumination of the mind is called liberation. The mind has to be free from the vasanas progressively. That's called liberation. Aparoksha Jnana or direct knowledge is common to Adnani and Jnani. It does not vary at all. What varies is the illumination of the mind. The vasanas in the mind changes from Adnani to Jnani. Are you clear? So Atma Jnana is same to everybody because Atma is nothing but light of the self, Atma Jyoti. It's self-luminous. You don't need a proof to say that you exist. You are aware. But Adnani and Jnani difference is Jnani will never confuse Atma Jyoti with the body. Adnani confuses the Atma Jyoti with the body, mind and intellect. So are there degrees in the enlightenment? There are no degrees in enlightenment. There is degrees in ignorance. Ignorance can be progressively reduced. So there appears to be difference between Jnani and Adnani because of the level of ignorance, not because of the level of Jnana. Is the distinction clear? Adnani confuses the body with the self. Gnani never confuses body with the self. So for Gnani, ignorance is 0. For Adnani, ignorance is 100%. So, but Gnani has no more Gnana than Adnani. Atma Gnana or self-awareness is same. The degree of ignorance is less in Gnani compared to Adnani. Huh? Yeah. In Gnani, degree of ignorance is minimum, 0 or less. So, are there levels in enlightenment? The levels in enlightenment appear to be there because of degrees of ignorance. No, I'm saying for people, there appears to be levels in Gnani because of the degrees in ignorance. No, even earlier we told there are Gnanis of 3 categories. Uttama, Madhyama, Adama. So the degrees of ignorance which is still there in the mind is a differentiator, not the Gnana itself. Gnana is same for all of them. Gnana means aparoksha Gnana. Self-aware. I am the self-aware. That is common to everybody. Everybody knows it. Do you exist? I exist. Are you aware? I am aware. No, that's in the Uttama Gnani, there's no. Adhyama, the vasanas will come. Ignorance. Right? So, Atma Gnana is, there's no difference between any Gnanis. Is that much clear? Very clear or not clear? There is self-awareness is there. But the confusion in the body and mind changes with respect to ignorance. So the example Parashurama gives, Bhagavan Dattatreya gives, you can imagine mind is like a basket. Think of a mind like a basket and self like a diamond shining. The self like a diamond shining is kept in the basket. Diamond always shines. There's no problem for the diamond. The diamond shining diamond is called Atma Jyoti, light as self. It's always self-aware, self-luminous. It throws the light. But the basket what we call as basket called mind is covered by layers and layers of mud. So the diamond does not shine fully. It is not visible because the mud is covered. Covering is there. So diamond does not give diamond is self-luminous. The mud is covering it, mud of vasanas. Okay. So the basket has to be opened. The basket is covered. The basket has to be opened. How do you open the basket? Through discrimination, viveka. Through discrimination, you open the basket. Okay. Then you progressively remove the vasanas, impressions, layer after layer, vasanas are there. That layers of layer vasanas you remove. That's what is called sadhana. The vasana removal process is called spiritual practice. As you remove the vasanas, the diamond shines by itself. Nobody knows, nobody, it's like sun is covered with a cloud. Sun is always shining. The clouds have to be removed. The clouds have to move. So the cloud covering Atma in terms of muddy vasanas have to be removed. That's called spiritual sadhana. Now, what is the difference between one Gnani and one Gnani and other Gnani is degree of maturity of the mind. Size of the cloud. So there is one story, one Zen master story. I'll tell you one Zen master story. In Japan, there was a Zen master. He had become old. He had 60,000 students in his school. 60,000 students were there. The Zen master wanted to select his successor, the next guy. So for next guy selection, typically Zen master will give his quote to the next guy and he will become the successor. He said, I will announce a contest in the ashram. Monastery, I will announce a contest. Whoever solves that puzzle will become my successor. So he said, my teaching of last 30 years has to be summarized in 4 lines. Anybody who summarizes my teaching in 4 lines is my next successor. So out of the 60,000 students, there was a ranked student. People consider him as a ranked student. He always attends all his classes and he gives always the answers perfectly. The ranked student comes and on the wall writes the summary of the teachings of master. Mind is the mirror. Dust is there on the mind. Polish the mirror. Okay, polish the mirror. Let the self shine in the mirror. So that is the 4-line answer. Then all the 60,000 students start clapping. What a wonderful summarization of the master teachings. They all started clapping. Then from the kitchen, the cook comes. So 30 years he has been cooking there in the ashram. He never comes to satsang. He always busy with cooking. Cooking is his service. He is always focused on cooking. Comes. What is going on? What is there? I don't understand what is there written there. He is illiterate. So mind is the mirror. There is a dust on the mind. Polish the mirror and self shines. Yes. What is this? Oh, this is summary of teaching of the master for last 30 years. See, our great student has solved the problem. Then he says, I don't know how to write. Can I tell something? Can you please write? Yes. Please write. No mind, no mirror. 2 lines. Then people start laughing. What? No mind? What nonsense you are speaking of? Okay. They started making mockery of that person. No mind, no mirror. What nonsense? You are a cook. You are not come out of the kitchen. You don't even know what master is teaching. So they started shouting at him, booing him. And the master comes and says, what's going on? Then he says, see, this person has written, okay, mind is the mirror, mind is polished, to be polished, self shines. And this idiot cook, he does not know. He says, no mind, no mirror. Okay. Then the master says to the cook, you idiot, 30 years you have been cooking, you don't know what spiritual teaching is. Okay, go back to your cooking. It goes to cooking. Then midnight, master wakes up the cook. Okay, and gives his quote to him. You are my successor, but don't stay in this ashram. There are 60,000 idiots are here. They don't even understand what I have taught. Okay, you go to another place and start a new ashram. Take my teaching. You are the only person who has understood my teaching. And actually, it's a real story. It happened. Then this guy goes and starts another ashram. So, a Gnani has no mind. The mind has become free of all vasanas. The mind is illusion. Mind is not reality. Adnani has to polish the mind. Until a point comes, it becomes no mind. The pure mind is no mind. So the cook has become cook is in no mind state. And that is a summary of spiritual teaching. No mind. But till you reach the no mind, you have to polish the mind. So that guy, the chief disciple, he is still in the sadhana. He has to polish the mind. Whereas cook has already reached the no mind state. That's the summary. So the degree of purification of the mind or purification of mind makes a difference between the Gnani and Adnani. Variation between the two. Okay. There is no difference in Atma-Dnana for anybody. But the manifestation of Atma-Dnana in the mind can vary depending on the purity of the mind. It is like this. Atma is like sun. Sun shines uniformly everywhere. Sunlight gets reflected maximum in mirror. It gets reflected in the lake. It gets reflected in the stone. The sun does not bother. Reflections are different depending on the surface. The mirror is a pure surface. The water is a better surface or is less inferior. Stone is inferior surface. The reflection will vary depending on the surface. The manifestation of Atma-Dnana in the mind varies depending on the ignorance which is present. That is the difference between the Gnani's behavior of one Gnani and other Gnani. Depending on the maturity of sadhana, person can be different levels of illumination. The illumination of mind or purification of mind is called liberation. There's a decrease in liberation, but there is no degree in the Dnana. Atma Dnana, self-awareness, same. The liberation, there is a the liberation can be progressive. No, I'm saying Gnani, who is established fully, Uttama. Yeah, Brahmavarishta. Okay. So now, Parashurama asks, what are the types of vasanas are there? What are the types of impurities are there in the mind? Okay. The impurities in the mind are three types. The mind has three types of impurities. First is called aparada. Second is called karma. Third is called kama. Aparada, kama and karma are the three types of impurities which are there in the mind of anybody. What is aparada? Aparada means fault. Okay. So there are many people in the world who don't believe in self-realization. There is nothing called self. Atma is not there. This is the fault. If this fault is there, Atma is not there, that fault is there, then you will never be able to realize the self. Aparada means wrong understanding or fault. Okay. I don't believe in Guru. I don't believe in Vedic teachings. So there's nothing beyond me, body and mind. The body and mind is the only reality. There's nothing beyond body and mind. There's no self. There's no God. There is no spiritual teaching. Vedas are not useful. This wrong understanding called aparada. Denial. Right? So it's called fault. If this is a big kalmasha, this is a big block, he will never be able to make any progress in spiritual life. First is called aparada. This is a vasana, impression. Right? Second is called karma. Karma means action. So people are identified with the body. I am the body. And they are restless. I have to keep doing something. Something I have to do. And doing becomes a habit. Without doing something, they will become restless. You have heard people called workaholics? If they don't do some work, their mind will be restless. The doing becomes a habit pattern. The mind craves for doing something. Sitting or not doing anything is not acceptable. Okay, this is called karma, action. Then called kama, desire. Desire, everybody lives for fulfilling the desires. You are motivated by I have to fulfill my desires. That's the motivation. So fulfillment of desire gives me happiness. So if for that the desires rise, you perform actions. Action brings the result. Result creates the impression, vasana. So the results are of two types: favorable, unfavorable. If favorable results are there, you will again want to do something again to get that. You want to increase, you want to do it more. If unfavorable results are there, you want to avoid that and do something else, but you have to do something. You're continuously in a cycle of desire, action, result, vasana. Desire, action, result, vasana. That cycle you are stuck. So this is called kama, desire. So there are three types of impurities of the mind are there. What are there? One is aparada, wrong understanding of life. Atma is not there, Brahman is not there, God is not there, Guru is not important, scriptures are not important. I deny existence of God, I deny existence of Atma. All these things are wrong understanding. It's called aparada, fault. Then addiction to work, called karma, action. Then addiction to, desire is called kama. Aparada, karma and kama are three impurities of the mind, which are blocking, which have to be purified for establishment in the self, Brahmanishta. Are you clear? So the degrees of purification from one person to other person is the difference in the jnana apparent in various jnanis. The degrees of purification. The degrees of purification of these three, aparada, karma and kama, that blocks the jnana. The variation in jnanis is because of the degrees of purification. So karma is karma vasana. It's actually, first is aparada, fault you understood. Karma vasana is I have to do something. Attachment to action, right? It is again coming from many lifetimes. So all these are there. Aparada, karma vasana and kama vasana is coming from many lifetimes. It's not one lifetime. Okay. Is the impression clear? Is this clear? So now Bhagavan Dattatreya speaks of how to get rid of this, how these vasanas go. So here I am showing you a table. There are three types of bondage I have shown: fault or aparada, right? First is fault, aparada. Second is action, karma vasana. Third is desire, kama vasana. So aparada I told, no faith in the self or scriptures or guru, right? Then how do you get freedom from this? A correct understanding of life has to come. A correct understanding of the self, the importance of guru and importance of scriptures, importance of spiritual evolution, enlightenment has to be there. We'll tell you, right? So that is no correction required from the aparada. So bondage of karma or karma vasana, habit patterns and evil actions, they bind you constantly. It goes on many lifetimes. Only grace of God can save you. How do you get the grace of God? By some unconsciously you do some good karma that starts opening up. Then you start doing karma yoga, selfless service. In karma yoga, you progressively offer your fruits of action to God, or rather, whatever comes, karmanyavadikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana, you are not affected by fruits of action. Then gradually you start doing for a karma for a higher cause, a noble cause. You purify your desire for desire. A karma has three things: motivation, result, and action. The motivation for doing a karma is selfish. I have to benefit from this. So when you do that, the result can be favorable or unfavorable. Favorable or unfavorable results leave an imprint on your mind, vasanas. So first in karma yoga, you start offering whatever comes as whatever you get result, you get as a blessing from God. Favorable or unfavorable. Then what happens? It's called prasadam. So then you are not affected with results. Then vasanas imprint will start coming down. Then also you start doing your motivation, you change from selfish action, you try to do selfless service. So the motivation changes, selfish to selfless. Then gradually the doership also drops. I am not the doer, understanding comes. So this to happen, you have to perform all actions as dedicated to God, offering to God. Then when the God is pleased, you'll become free from bondage of karma. The grace of God is required. Then there is a desire or kama vasana. Desire what I want. Desires keep rising. I want happiness. I want this. I want that. I want that. The person will, this will go on many lifetimes. Many lifetimes you go chase the desires. It's very difficult to understand that the fulfillment of desires completely is not possible. Every desire which is fulfilled is like putting ghee into the fire. It will again burn. It will rise. I want a job is the desire. I get a job with the desire. Will I be happy? I'll be happy momentarily. Next time I'm craving for promotion. The moment I get promotion, I'm happy or unhappy based on the increment I get. No fulfillment of desire leads to permanent happiness. So over a period of maturity, long maturity of many lifetimes, the person starts realizing that futility of search for happiness in the external world, objective world. It requires many lifetimes of maturity. So these three aparadha. First is aparadha, the fault. Then second is bondage of action. The third is what you call as karma vasana and kama vasana. These are the three. So these three are like mud. The mind is like a mud covered with these three vasanas. The gem of self is always there, shining in the bottom of the basket. These three have to be cleared. So then Bhagavan Dattatreya says, just because these vasanas are getting cleared is not sufficient. Your desire for liberation should be strong. The desire for liberation should be there. Desire for mukti should be there. Then only you'll put real effort there to get rid of these vasanas. Desire for liberation is very weak in many people. Most of the people, it's very weak because other impressions are more. Karma vasana and kama vasana and aparada. They are strong. Their desire for liberation or freedom from these vasanas is very weak. For them, all the spiritual teachings will not help. Some of them may learn spiritual teachings out of curiosity, but they learn it's like an art, skill to show off. I know one more skill, like, driving, swimming. So I know also spirituality. It becomes, it becomes a qualification for them. It's like he says, it's like kala, art. Like one more art, they learn spirituality. It is not for removing the dust in the mind, getting the purity of the mind. It's not becoming free from all these vasanas, aparada, karma, kama, vasana. They are not trying to do that. They are trying to add some more qualification. Oh, I know this also. For them, it's a curiosity. Their desire for liberation is very feeble. Then there are people who have desire for liberation but not strong enough. They are better than these feeble people. They put their effort. And they get a very good intellectual understanding. They get intellectual understanding of spiritual teachings. Intellectually they understand. They're very good in talking about scriptures, various aspects of scriptures. They talk very confident, but that has not transformed them. Because the learning should be used to get rid of the vasanas. The learning is like a medicine. The medicine you have to take to get rid of your disease. The spirituality is not just another understanding, but that understanding should be used to observe yourself, become aware of yourself, become free from the vasanas which are burying that jewel of self. No application. You have to apply it in your life. So persistence is required until you get rid of vasanas. The third quality or third are they become the uttama, the top quality. So for them, the urge for liberation is very strong, very deep. I want to get liberated. I want to become free. So whatever spiritual teaching they receive, they apply it in life and they get rid of their vasanas. So this is the different degree of difference in the vasanas is degree of manifestation of jnana in the life of a person. So how should be the desire for liberation is called mumukshatva. Desire for liberation is called mumukshatva. How deep should be your liberation, desire for liberation? A person who has got burnt. Okay, he is running to find something which will cool this burning. He'll apply that and try to reduce his burning sensation. His urge for getting that soothing medicine for burning sensation is so deep. He'll run here and there to get that medicine to put on that burning sensation. He applies it. Like that, a desire for liberation, mumukshatva, should be burning to get the medicine of spiritual teaching and apply it in your life. So this is called intense desire for liberation. The person who has a weak desire, he has no desire. He just listens and takes it and feels he knows something. The mediocre, there's lowest category. The middle category has stronger desire, but he learns intellectually but does not apply. The person with the highest desire, or the best of the spiritual seeker, is the strongest desire. His desire is as good as a person who is on fire. He is looking for a medicine and apply the medicine. So he gets the spiritual teaching and applies it in his life and becomes free and becomes liberated. This is the difference between three jnanis. So then next question comes. Self-effort, satsanga, and God's grace. Which of these is better? What role each of these play? So that question is answered tomorrow. Yeah, there's a question here. How did the cook become no mind? Through polishing only, right? Depending on his past prarabdha. Yes. So the cook had a good prarabdha, or cook learned, grasped the spiritual essence, and he was doing all his activities as a cooking as a service. His mind became free from vasanas. So through polishing only, but he has already crossed. That's why he has become enlightened, and then Guru has taught him as the success. Guru has taken him as the successor. Any other questions?
Hari Om Gurudev. Hari Om. Hari Om Guruji. Hari Om.
Hari Om.
Guruji.
Yes.
The question about spiritual sadhana.
Yeah.
To remove all the vasanas. What are the spiritual sadhanas? Because nowadays we have lots of, they call it spiritual sadhanas like Hatha Yoga, Kundalini Yoga. So what are the real spiritual sadhana to get rid of all these vasanas?
See, here in this class, I am teaching only one sadhana, right?
Yeah, one sadhana, correct.
Atma Vichara.
Atma Vichara only.
Atma Vichara, which involves Shravana, Manana, Nididhyasana, and Seva, service.
Yeah, correct.
So this is the only sadhana which is taught in this class.
Yes, correct.
Okay, there are many things people have many practices which they do.
Yeah.
But here we are focusing only on this.
Okay.
And of course, in this same chapter, in the same discussion, later there's a discussion between the Parashurama and Bhagavan Dattatreya. Which sadhana is better, Hatha Yoga and Jnana Yoga? What sadhana is better? The discussion is there. Okay.
Okay.
But according to me, this is the highest sadhana.
Yeah.
Shravana, Manana, Nididhyasana.
Yes, correct. Gurudev, one more question. In this self-inquiry method, what is the place of Maunam in that? We need to do Maunam. There are 4 types of Maunam. In this Shravana, Manana, Nididhyasana, if we go for higher sadhana, is Maunam required in that?
Maunam, see, Maunam is not the Maunam which is spoken in spiritual sadhana.
Yeah.
Is not the Maunam of the tongue.
Yes, correct.
Mind. The mental silence is called Maunam.
Yes.
Okay, mental silence you achieve. Initially, you may require some verbal silence, but really, finally, mental silence is required through Atma Vichara.
Okay.
So one person is mentally silent, can speak also, but then still is silent.
Now, should we go for a particular period of Maunam? That is 1 year, 2 years.
That's the thing. That's initially it will helpful, but that initially it's helpful. Some period of Mauna is helpful.
Okay.
Right.
It's not because the beginning we can start the Vak Maunam. We can start like don't speak for 1 week or 2 weeks. Once in a while.
Yeah, you can do that. It helps you to observe the mind.
Okay. And then as we go on, we can use the Maunam like Aksha or Kashta, and then till we reach the end. Is it like that, the procedure to go?
No. See, the Maunam of the verbal Maunam is used for observing the mental noise.
Okay.
The focus is on the mind actually, not on the tongue.
Okay.
So mind, how noisy is the mind? Observe and become free from the mind. That's the purpose. Not just observing mechanically the Maunam doesn't help.
So it's not for every sadhaka, it's not required, Maunam?
No, no,
Depending
Maunam helps. But the purpose of Maunam is to observe the mind and become free from the mind.
Okay.
Right?
Mhm.
So now that Maunam you have to practice with all your with your family circumstance, office circumstance, all the things you have
Yeah. Yeah, we have to take all this into consideration.
all this into consideration. But what is important is the mental silence.
Hmm.
Okay. For some people, verbal silence or silence of the mouth will help in mental silence. But really, silence of the mouth is not required to observe the mental silence if you are sharp enough.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you, Gurudev.
Anybody
Thank you.
any other question?